Let's rewind to just a few hours ago, because the landscape for one of the world's biggest girl groups just shattered. On December 29, 2025, ADOR, the HYBE sublabel behind NewJeans, dropped a bombshell that fans never saw coming. They weren't announcing a comeback. Instead, they were announcing a divorce. The agency stated that after the final court ruling upheld the validity of the group's exclusive contract, they held intensive talks with the members who had resisted returning: Minji, Hanni, and Danielle. Hanni, after flying in from abroad for lengthy discussions, decided to respect the court and come back. Minji's talks are ongoing, but for Danielle, it was over. ADOR stated bluntly that continuing together was difficult and they had unilaterally terminated her exclusive contract. But that wasn't even the most explosive part. The label declared it would pursue legal action against a specific member of Danielle's family and former CEO Min Hee-jin, holding them significantly responsible for the entire dispute. In a single morning, the narrative shifted from a group contract struggle to a targeted termination, hinting at deeper, more personal layers of interference and alleged tampering that the public had only whispered about until now. To understand why this is so seismic, you have to rewind to the beginning of this saga. The controversy didn't start with the members, but from the top. In 2024, a brutal power struggle erupted between HYBE, the K-pop giant, and Min Hee-jin, the creative mastermind and CEO of ADOR, who was credited with building NewJeans from the ground up. HYBE launched an audit accusing Min of attempting to usurp control of the label and the group. The media was flooded with allegations of shamanistic rituals, disparaging comments about other HYBE artists like Lee Seraphim, and secret meetings with external investors. For fans, it was a whiplash-inducing spectacle. This wasn't just corporate drama. It was a battle for the soul of NewJeans, played out in real time through press conferences that felt more like courtroom dramas. Min Hee-jin, in a now infamous emergency press conference, positioned herself as a protective mother to the girls, alleging HYBE was trying to copy and sabotage NewJeans. The members, notably Hanni and Minji, were present, their stern faces fueling a narrative that they were unified with Min against the corporate overlords. Hanni's testimony at the National Assembly, where she spoke about the pressures idols face, was framed by supporters as a brave stand, though later evidence would suggest the specific ignorant comment she referenced may have been misrepresented to her. As the legal war between HYBE and Min Hee-jin raged, the members found themselves in an impossible position. Their contracts were with ADOR, a company now at war with its parent. Rumors began to swirl that the members or their families were aligned with Min Hee-jin. The atmosphere turned toxic online, with fan communities fracturing into pro-Min and pro-HYBE camps. Every minor activity by the members was scrutinized for clues. Then, in late 2024, came the nuclear option. Reports surfaced that NewJeans had filed to terminate their exclusive contracts with ADOR. The industry was stunned. For a group at their peak, this was unprecedented risk. The grounds were reportedly based on trust breakdown and profit distribution, but netizens speculated fiercely. Was this a move directed by Min Hee-jin to take the girls with her if she left, or a genuine revolt by the members? The line between independent choice and external influence became the central, haunting question of the entire scandal. The courts began to rule, and the story took another turn. In March 2025, the court dismissed the members' injunction request. Then, in a final blow in October, the court fully validated the exclusive contracts with ADOR. Legally, the path was clear. The members were bound to ADOR. This is where the subtle yet crucial divergence among the members began. Hyun and Haerin were the first to reportedly engage with ADOR and signal a return. But then, a chaotic public relations scramble happened. The legal representatives for Minji, Hanni, and Danielle issued a statement announcing their return. But crucially, it was reported they did so without finalized agreements with ADOR. It felt like a forced public gambit. Industry insiders whispered this was a classic pressure tactic, but it highlighted a lack of coordinated strategy. Fans were left confused. Who was actually talking to whom? In the weeks following the court ruling, while ADOR was in supposed discussions with the three holdouts, a curious pattern emerged with Danielle. She became the subject of a distinct stream of media coverage. Photos of her doing volunteer work, carrying heavy loads in the cold, training for marathons, accompanied by praise from well-known philanthropist and musician Sean. On the surface, it painted a picture of a resilient, charitable, and disciplined young woman. But to industry analysts, the timing was suspect. This was meticulous personal brand building at a moment when legally she could not undertake commercial activities. It felt less like coincidence and more like a strategic framing, crafting an image of moral fortitude and independence, potentially preparing the public and the market for a solo path. This visibility set her apart from Hanni and Minji, who maintained a lower profile. Which brings us back to today's devastating announcement. ADOR's statement is a masterclass in corporate narrative shifting. By welcoming back Hanni, who had given damning testimony, and continuing talks with Minji, who delivered the iconic "Do you understand?" line, ADOR signaled it could forgive public defiance if it stemmed from distorted and biased information. They framed those members as recoverable, perhaps even manipulated actors. But for Danielle, the language was final, difficult to continue. The explicit threat of lawsuit against her family member, widely reported to be her mother, and Min Hee-jin for tampering, make the agency's position clear. They are drawing a line between those they believe were misled and those they believe were active participants in the alleged campaign to undermine the company. The mention of pursuing legal responsibility suggests ADOR believes it now has concrete evidence, perhaps messages, financial trails, or testimony from returning members, that directly ties Danielle's camp to coordinated actions with Min Hee-jin to breach the contract. The fallout is immense. For NewJeans, this isn't a clean reset. The group returns scarred and incomplete. The public, exhausted by a year of drama, may view them through a lens of controversy rather than music. The promised future clarification of various controversies teased by ADOR means this story isn't over. It's merely entering a new phase of potential lawsuits and shocking reveals. For Danielle, she faces not just the end of her NewJeans chapter, but a potentially ruinous legal battle for damages that could reach tens of billions of won, calculated on the group's lost future earnings. For the K-pop industry, this saga is a grim textbook case, a warning of how internal power struggles, alleged external tampering, and the immense pressure on young artists can combust, destroying trust and derailing even the most promising careers. The final image is no longer one of a unified group, but of a fractured legacy, where business, loyalty, and artistry collided with irreversible consequences.